In this session, we shall run through the basics of character arrays and strings. So, string is basically defined as a sequence of characters that is treated as a single unit, and any group of characters that is often quoted using double quotation marks is often defined as a string constant. Few of the common operations which can be performed on the strings include reading and writing strings, combining strings, which is often called as concatenation, copying one string to another, a string copy operation, and comparison of one string against another string. They shall match in terms of the length as well as the individual characters within the string, and probably extracting a portion of a string which is extracting a subset of the string. So here is a scenario of how probably the character array would be declared like. So a character array has the basic data type as char, following which you have the array name. Here it shall be taken as the string name, which is followed by the maximum size of characters that can be accommodated within the character array. So city is a character array which can accommodate a maximum of 10 characters. Name is yet another character array which can at the maximum accommodate 30 characters. So these are two probable ways as to how character arrays or strings could be initialized. So the first instance shows initialization of the character array called city using a string New York, whereas the second one shows the initialization of the same character array city using individual character constants. So the individual character constants constituting the prior string would be N, E, W, Y, O, R, K, which is followed by a null character. The only difference is when you try to initialize it with a string, you need not have to append a null character, whereas individual character constants used to initialize the string require appending of a null character at the last position. Here is yet another example to illustrate the same. You have a character array whose name is string and initialized with good. So individual character constants are being used to initialize the array string followed by a null character. One thing which could be observed is we have skipped mentioning the maximum size of the array. Whereas in this case, we have stated the maximum size of the array and we are trying to initialize it to a string called good. Automatically the last character is appended by a null, and it is something which looks like this. Since the maximum size is 10, soon after the first 4 locations are initialized to G, O, O and D, the rest of the locations are initialized to null. So we have reading strings from terminal using scanf function. So this is the data type, the name of the character array, the maximum size of the array. So if probably we are using scanf to read the character array, we use the scanf function, the format specifier for the string being %s, and then we use the name of the character array, which is address. One thing which is to be noticed is probably when we execute the scanf and suppose we input New York from the keyboard, what finally gets into this variable called address, the character array called address is new, while York doesn't get assigned to address. That is because whenever scanf finds a white space, it assumes it is the end of the input. Hence address would only be initialized with new rather than New York. It is something which is shown as in the picture here. So this is an example. Suppose we have address 1 and address 2, both of them carrying the maximum size 5, and suppose you are trying to read the input 2 strings into address 1 and address 2. The first one you are trying to write new, the next string you are trying to read York. New gets into ADR1, York gets into ADR2. This is using getChar and the function putChar, which are used to read single characters and output a single character. So you have the data type char, the variable name ch. So when we use ch is equal to getChar, a single